Resident Evil 3, the immense and upcoming AAA horror game project that we've all been waiting for. After the first two gameplay trailers, and yes, there were two, in case you didn't know, and this will be highlighted in the video, details were scarce and Capcom actually kept quiet about Resident Evil 3 a lot more than people assumed, especially considering the game is set to release in just a few months. We know hardly anything about the game, but alas, there is a magazine interview that has shed some new details. I'll leave a link to the Reddit thread that contains all the images and sources, so if you want to go look at it yourself, you can. But in this video, I'm just going to summarize some of the details that are important, at least to me, and what I think you'll find interesting, and also some of my personal thoughts on them. So let's get into this as always. Now first off, and this is something that obviously a lot of us assumed, but Nemesis's AI is basically based on the Tyrant AI from Resident Evil 2. It is an improved version, but that is what it's using as a core foundation. That gives you a good idea of what to expect, but I really do hope that they keep in some of the things such as Nemesis being capable of sprinting, etc., because that's one of the core things that made him such a scary opponent and distinguished him from Mr. X so much. Not just the weaponry or the STARS dialogue, but the speedrunning that he basically did at you as well. They say Carlos will have an interesting playable section, but they also tease in the interview in many different ways that Carlos's plot has been expanded from the original game, even going so far as to say that he's on the cover right next to Jill Valentine, so they have to represent that. And you know, that kind of gives you an idea of what to expect. I'm not saying he's getting his own campaign, because they even just say he just has a playable section, but I'm sure that his entire narrative and the writing behind him has been expanded upon a lot from the base original Resident Evil 3. Now, there's only going to be one ending in the entire game, and so I guess this is to keep in line with Resident Evil 2, and it looks like with Capcom's recent remakes, they just want one finale and one ending, so that you can have a lot of consistency between the different games while they're creating this new story arc with the differences that we're seeing in these new remakes. So it's a pretty interesting thing to know. I mean, a few people might be disappointed about that, but overall I think the consistency is something that's important when it comes to creating a serious narrative and dialogue as well as universe. A lot of people have argued over the canon consistency before in Resident Evil, so this should be something that all of those people should actually appreciate. Now, Resident Evil 3 is not going to be an open world game. I don't think anybody expected that, but apparently it's going to be a lot more open than the original Resident Evil 3, and you'll be able to explore a lot of the environments a lot more as well. And this implied that a few of the streets are going to be represented quite well to give you that vision of chaos and fire, and it's something that I've been asking from Capcom for a while. We really wanted that feeling of the city slowly dying out as we're progressing through our own adventure as well, and it looks like Capcom has actually delivered on this, and that's what they're going for. Now, something in the interview that was kind of funny though is they did say, you know, is there going to be a dodge system coming back? And the answer was, hey, we haven't confirmed anything on that, you'll just have to wait to see. But they did actually confirm this, because they did a Japanese gameplay trailer, and in that you can see the dodge system, as you can see in the clip behind you, and that is clearly a dodge system. So yeah, you guys done did a blunder on that one and gave a bad answer to this magazine. Remember, Capcom, to keep knowledgeable on what content you actually release. Now, the core of Resident Evil 3's story is unchanged and intact, and so are many of the enemies. For example, they did confirm that mutant worms will be making a returning appearance, Jill will go underground, etc. You know, everything kind of has the same basis, but there is going to be changes and expanses. I just want people to be reassured though that this remake is going to have the core of the story, just like Resident Evil 2, intact for fans who loved the original. And I am actually glad about this. I think the way that they're actually going with it by expanding upon it more than just keeping it as a remaster, because I call this more of a remake than 2. I really appreciate that, and I want to know where they're going, especially with Carlos, because he seems completely different in this game, so we'll have to see what that entails. but it's going to be pretty interesting either way. Now there's other details in there, such as which places you'll be able to visit, the photogrammetry in the game, the mocapping, the voice and sound effects, the atmosphere, things like that. You know, there's all sorts of interesting small details. They've also got a page that's like a character bio for each person, but, you know, I'm sure we all know who Jill Valentine is by now, for example. But it's there if you want to go and read it anyway. It's still interesting. So if you want to go check out all of that stuff, remember, you can go check it out in the description. I just wanted to put the things out there, like I said, that I thought were the most important and interesting to me personally. I don't want to go and sit there talking about photogrammetry for half an hour again, so we'll leave it at that. I just hope you've enjoyed the experience anyway, and that you've learned something new about Resident Evil 3's remake. I just hope you're having a beautiful day as always. Take it easy, and peace.